You wouldn't believe what happened yesterday. I'm Joseph, this is Input English. Yesterday, I had a real-life experience. So real-life experience, what does that mean? It's an expression that people use for emphasis. If you watch this channel, you know this channel is all about comprehensible input. And a lot of the stories that I create for this channel are fiction. They are loosely based on life experiences, things I've seen, things I've read, things I've heard about, things that people have told me about. But the stories I write about Bobby and Craig, the family, and all those other fictional characters are just fiction. I make them up, and I make them up to make interesting content for comprehensible input. In contrast to these made-up fictional stories, there are stories that we tell each other about real experiences that we have in life. And one of the ways to emphasize that what you're about to recount to someone else is a true story, a real-life experience. So this one happened yesterday. This experience yesterday really proved what I've been saying. Well, that's not a very specific statement because in the last 300 plus videos, I've said a lot of things. A couple of days ago, I made a video, and one of the points I made is for comprehensible input, it's important to trust the system. Put your faith in the system, because if you get enough good input, if you understand it, if you find it interesting and the presentation is compelling so that you basically are drawn into the story, then you're unstoppable. Comprehensible input works incredibly well if you meet those three criteria, and those criteria were given to us by Stephen Krashen. Understandable, interesting, compelling. So the other day I said we have to trust the system. And one of the things implicit in my advice to trust the system is the simple fact that in my learning experience with Spanish, I trusted the system. I knew that if I got enough input, that the language would build and it would become useful to me. Now, I may sound like a broken record. What's that mean? Back when records were made out of vinyl, out of plastic, and the record player had a needle that rode in the groove made on the record to produce the sound, those records sometimes would develop flaws. They would get cracks or damage to the surface, and the needle would skip. And it would cause the record, the recording, to repeat. Now, I'm not sure many of you use a record player and play vinyl. Some may, it's getting popular again. But a broken record would skip and sometimes repeat. So if you tell someone that you may sound like a broken record, what you're saying is that you may be repeating yourself. So sounding like a broken record is a metaphor for repeating oneself. So what happened? Well, yesterday was like any other day. I got up and started formulating my plans on what sort of video to make. Did the morning chores, had breakfast, but I had a task. I needed to pick up my car from the dealership. More specifically, I had to pick up my truck from the dealership. It was at the dealership, and I needed to retrieve it. Okay. Well, the dealership's pretty far away. I live out in the country. The nearest real grocery store is nearly 10 miles away from our house. So when I think about going on an errand, it's not just a walk around the corner. There's a real distance that needs to be traveled. Now, my wife was not available to drive me to pick up my truck. Oh, what do I do? Well, We all have lots of friends we can call upon, but before I got into my phone and went down to select who I would call to ask a favor, if you ask someone a favor, you're asking them to do something for you for nothing. They're just doing it to help you. So before I got into my phone looking for who I would ask for a favor to drive me to the dealership to pick up my truck, I thought, you know, I can get there without burdening anyone else. I can do this. I'm a big boy. If somebody says I'm a big boy, what they're saying is that I am capable. It refers to having agency. You can do something. You can accomplish something. So if somebody says, I'm a big boy, it means they're up to the task. I had an Uber app on my phone. I had a card in the Bay Area. The paying card for the transit system is called a Clipper card. And I had a Clipper card, and it had plenty of money on it. So really, all I needed to do was call an Uber to the house, get a ride to the transit station, and take public transit to the dealership. That would be easy, and it only needed to be one way. Round trip would be in both directions, of course, but I only needed to go one way because I would come back in my truck. So, having hatched this plan, there's a great expression. If you hatch a plan, it means that you thought of it and figured out all the details to where you could actually implement it. So I hatched this plan to take public transit, including Uber. I used the app, and true to form, wow, we're running into a lot of great expressions today. True to form means as usual. As usual, I made an error when I entered the information into the Google app, but I didn't notice it until I hit confirm, and it presented me with the route. And the plan for Uber, based on what I put into the app, was that the driver would take me directly to the wrong place. No, horrors, this was horrible. But the Uber app actually is fairly robust. It had a way to fix that. So I went back in and put in the correction. It showed me the correct location. I hit confirm. It showed me the new price, and it was less than the other one. Great. So in about 10 minutes, the Uber driver showed up in a late model car, meaning a pretty new car, and I saw him coming up the street, so I waved, and he flashed his headlights. He flashed the lights to acknowledge that I had waved. When he got to me, he stopped. I opened the door. I asked permission to get into his car. Why do I do that? I want to be polite. You don't have to do that, but it just seemed polite. If you're going to get in somebody's car, you get their permission to do it. I've been doing this for a long time. He said, okay, and I was in. We took off. We had gone maybe 50 feet when he looked in the mirror talking to me. We made eye contact through the mirror, and he said that he didn't speak English. Now, when he said what he said, I listened and discerned that he had a Hispanic accent of some sort. I couldn't tell where he was from, but I discerned that he was probably a native Spanish speaker. So I said, no pasa nada. Yo hablo bastante español. Of course, that got a big relief from him, and he started talking to me. And I told him my story. I told him in Spanish that historically I didn't speak Spanish. I had studied German in high school. But that didn't work out very well. But in 2023, I started listening to Input and watching videos And over the past 2 years, I have listened to more than 2,000 hours of input. I wasn't trying to impress him. I was trying to communicate where we were on this communications. I labeled myself as a language learner. That turned out to be a good move on my part. We continued driving and he took me to my destination. It took nearly 25 minutes. During that 25 minutes, we talked constantly. He did a majority of the talking, and I was able to listen and understand quite well. He asked me a few questions, and I answered them. He introduced himself, and he told me he was from Colombia. He said that he has a wife and 2 sons, and he explained where he lived, a couple of hours outside of Bogota. He told me that he was a taxi driver in Colombia, but now he's in the United States driving for Uber. Now, if you're used to watching language learning videos, one of the techniques that we use making these videos is we frequently keep the topics fairly narrow. We have a story, and it doesn't range widely. The subject doesn't change much. So these language learning videos, particularly for beginners, are very easy to follow because the subject matter, the topic, doesn't change around very much. But conversations with native speakers, you have to be prepared that they're going to change the subject. If you change the subject, you abruptly start talking about something else. Sometimes people change the subject because the thing they were talking about is unpleasant. They don't want to talk about that anymore. So they change the subject. But in this case, he was just interested in talking about a bunch of different things. And so he changed the subject because of what was going through his mind at the time. This was a great challenge for me because I needed to follow the conversation. Now, when we are talking to native speakers and we are language learners, we can let them do a lot of the talking. People love to talk, and we should let them talk. It benefits us because it gives us more input, and it takes a lot of pressure off of us. In normal conversations everywhere, the listener, a good listener, will use small phrases, expressions, or even individual words to show agreement, to show understanding, or to show approval. I did that in our conversation. The curious thing to me was that those little expressions came automatically. I was not searching for them. When I wanted to express agreement, the words just came out. In fact, most of what I said came out intuitively. I didn't construct any sentences based on thinking about vocabulary and grammar. The words just came out. In my day-to-day, I don't encounter a lot of situations where I need to speak Spanish. There are a lot of Spanish-speaking people in Northern California. That is not a problem, but most of them speak English far better than I speak Spanish. So if I encounter someone in a store or a social situation and they're fluent in English, but they're a native Spanish speaker, I usually don't burden them with my learner's Spanish. Why? Because I don't need to, and they don't have a duty to accept the assignment as being my teacher. I think if I was under some pressure to be able to speak fluently sooner rather than later, then I would look more aggressively for opportunities to speak. Yesterday's opportunity just came out of nowhere. It was completely unplanned, it was very natural, and it was very comfortable. At no point did I lock up with fear, and at no point did I switch back into English. I didn't apologize. I just engaged him in a conversation. Now, he was a smart guy, and he listened carefully and discerned that I was a language learner. I confessed to that at the beginning. And I think he did slow down the pace of his speech. A couple of times I could sense that he really slowed it down to allow me to stay with him on the subject matter. That was helpful. He accommodated my needs intuitively. I never asked him to slow down, and I never asked him to repeat anything. I can say he made my day. If you say that something or someone made your day, what you're saying is that the experience was a high point. It was a very positive effect. Another great way to say that is, this was the high point of my day. It was the best part of the day. So looking back at what happened yesterday, I can observe a couple of things. One is it was a big boost to my confidence in myself, but also my confidence in the methodology I've been using for a couple of years to learn Spanish. I had been promised that if I got enough input, that the words would just naturally come out of me. There are a lot of people on the internet who don't agree with that. There are a lot of opinions expressed online that say, no, you have to practice. Well, my experience yesterday confirmed that if I get enough input, the words just start coming out. Another benefit from yesterday's experience is it makes me more interested in finding similar experiences. Once we find a positive experience, we want to do something like that again. That's natural. Looking back at yesterday's experience, I am very grateful that this fellow was able to provide me with a ride and allow me to further enjoy the Spanish language. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.